This month is so packed, it's gonna take 2 videos to do it justice. This is part 1 of my favorite metal albums of October, and we're starting with Sadistic Force and Midnight Assassin. This Austin-based Blackened speed metal band not only brings the killer riffs, they're also another perfect October listen given this album's 80s slasher inspirations. Major dirtbag energy all over this thing with grimy vocals and hooks clearly inspired by the likes of Motorhead and Venom. Tracks like Speeding Black Leather Hell feel like classic era stuff that was just recently discovered in some abandoned storage space. Now, if I can make one critique, I do feel like these songs would be much tighter at almost half their current lengths. When it comes to speed and thrash metal, it's the difference between being hit with a slap versus a clenched fist.
I challenge you to a duel. I accept.
But either way, this is the perfect genre outing for the fall season. And so is The Lion's Daughter with Bathhouse. I frequently use this band as the benchmark when it comes to horror reverence in metal. In my opinion, no other band does as good a job of actually capturing the energy of classics from Dario Argento to John Carpenter as The Lion's Daughter. And while that still comes through strong in the synths, they have also continued to evolve in some new directions. Listening to the opening title track, I almost felt more like I was listening to High on Fire, though being totally honest, I don't love the more Yarly direction of some of the vocals. That said, the riffs are sick, almost going full heavy metal on Crawler Night, and there's still some spooky atmosphere to be found on the likes of Your Pets Died on TV, She Does Not Exist, and especially 12/31/89. Skin Show is still my favorite, but I appreciate a band that continues to try new things with every album. Next up is Carnifex with Necromantium. Once again, I'm going to be brutally honest and say that I did not like Graveside Confessions, but Necromantium feels like a full return to the symphonic, bombastic glory of World War X, and with a spookier paint job to boot. I mean, that Tom Barber feature on Death's Forgotten Child alone is like a direct injection of nitroglycerin. First off, the riffs are sick and the vocals absolutely disgusting in how much they compel me to flail my limbs. Then add the perfect amount of brass and strings for that extra punch and I can scarcely contain the adrenaline left coursing through my veins. I guess in many ways it feels like they're channeling my favorite elements of Shadow of Intent and frequently outdoing Elegy in the process.
But that's simply not possible.
Why isn't it possible?
It's just not.
Why not, you stupid bastard?
Yo, we still have plenty more albums to go, but as always, hit the like button if you're enjoying the video, and comment as we go along what are your favorite metal albums of October so far. Then we have Prong with State of Emergency. This is the band's 13th studio album, 4 years in the wake of their Age of Defiance EP, and man do they still bring that nihilistic 90s energy. I'm a big fan of both Prong and Helmet's early material from that era, but it's these guys who continue to bring the heat for me in modern times. Tracks like the title track, Breaking Point, and The Descent are still delivering on those hypnotic, groovy guitars and pissed off vocals. Now, if I'm being critical again, it's not the perfect album with a song here and there that don't fully connect, but even these end up being catchy and pretty infectious. It's been an almost shockingly good year for returning Legacy X, especially as someone who tends to be more interested in what's fresh and new, and Prong definitely continues that trend.
We're not too old for this shit.
Then we have Sulphur Aeon with 7 Crowns and 7 Seals. These Lovecraftian Blackened death metalers absolutely blew my socks off with 2015's Gateways to the Antisphere, which I still count among the albums that ultimately inspired me to start metal trenches to begin with. 2018's The Scythe of Cosmic Chaos was a solid enough follow-up, but didn't quite live up to my expectations. 7 Crowns and 7 Seals, on the other hand.
Captain of life at the dawn of time.
What this band do best is combining an atmosphere of dark cosmic horror with eerie earworm hooks, and they've once again nailed that on this record. If I close my eyes, I can almost see eldritch terrors beyond description emerging from blasphemous portals in the sky. A perfect balance of death metal, black metal, and doom to herald in an elder god apocalypse. Next up is Capra with Errors. I've been enamored with this Louisiana hardcore band ever since they dropped Torture Ship about 3 years ago, leading up to their awesome debut LP, In Transmission. Since then, they've been touring with bigger and bigger bands to become one of the rising stars of the Metal Blade roster. Now with Errors, they continue to deliver on heartstring-pulling lyrics and Every Time I Die-inspired riffage, not to mention some guest vocals from Walls of Jericho's Candice Cook-Sulain.
I need to feel something good! I need to feel something real!
Crow continues to channel the darkest corners of human existence with a passionate delivery that feels almost improvised. And while the pace here feels a bit slower than on In Transmission, Tyler's riffs and Jeremy's drumming hit just as hard, especially on tracks like Tied Up and Kingslayer. And Nora is a beautiful closer, definitely the best melodic track they've done to date. Then we have Sonapfer with Nos Sommes d'Air. Guaranteed I fucked up that pronunciation.
Stupid, 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 stupid.
I admit it, someone mentioning the word Baroque in a metal context and I'm already in. This French black metal solo act bring a particularly infectious brand of jangly, folky guitars and dbeats to tell medieval tales of dark times. Not to mention a great guest spot from Bludas Nord's Vinsvoll. Another one that's maybe a little long-winded at times with some tracks running close to 10 minutes, but this one does a better job of keeping things interesting with the shifting songwriting, acoustic sections, and implementation of choral backing vocals. Definitely one of the more interesting black metal albums to stand out from the pack this year. Then there's Nitland with Torum. This pagan and dark folk band was formed by a husband and wife duo in 2013, taking the sound of their icy homeland of Siberia while still telling tales of Norse mythology. If you also enjoy Heilung, then you need to check this duo out. Shakers and hand drums pound out the beat alongside some truly hypnotic throat singing and ululated female vocals. There are also the occasional strings, but for the most part the atmosphere is found in the project's stark minimalism. Truly haunting stuff that once more would be the perfect soundtrack for a Viking epic. Then we have Mors Subita with Origin of Fire. This Finnish band is what you get if Soilwork never left their early 2000s sound. They're as fast and vicious as Chainheart Suicide, but also at times as melodic and catchy as Natural Born Chaos. Origin of Fire is their 5th album, and as a mellow death junkie, I could not be more at home. Tracks like Blackout and Blood Eagle really bring back the magic I felt from this genre back in high school. And of course, the Twin Peaks Fire Walk With Me references are always welcome.
2 and 2 do not always equal 4.
I'd love to see melodic death metal reach the same type of peak it had 2 decades ago, and bands like Mors Subita are leading that charge just as much as legacy acts like Scar Symmetry. And then we have the Voynich Code with Insomnia. This Portuguese deathcore band has been coming up more and more whenever I discuss deathcore, and with this new release I can understand why. Fusing hard grooves, big atmosphere, and some pretty wicked symphonic keys, this is definitely for those out there enjoying the likes of Brand of Sacrifice, Lorna Shore, and Shadow of Intent. Songs like A Dying Age in particular really got my motor running just in the same way as Brand of Sacrifice does. Now I will say that this is far from my favorite deathcore album of the year, as I think that they could benefit from a bit more originality in the songwriting and more varied vocals. But that said, this is still a standout release for October, and deathcore fans in particular are going to find plenty to enjoy even if Carnifex takes the win for me. Y'all check out this playlist for more of my best metal albums of this year by month, and also stay tuned for part 2, but that'll do it for now. Flight of Icarus signing off. I will see you in the trenches.